welcome back to the Craptastic Podcast. And today with me, I have the man who you want at all your campfires to tell all the scary stories. He's a paranormal investigator for over 25 years, Reverend Christopher Hagan. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here.
That's awesome. So you've been a paranormal investigator for over 25 years?
Yeah, well, okay, I'm 52 now. I went on my first case when I was 19, kind of with they called him Dr. Stan. You got to understand, this is 1984, where you could have a degree in parapsychology. I don't know where you would get it, but they were still considered kind of doctors in that field, for lack of a better term. And I followed this guy on a case, and it wasn't until I was 22, 23 that I really got into it on my own. So,
wow, yeah. That's really cool, though. I have a couple of boys, friends of mine, that are they started a channel called Paranormal Incorporated, and
Nice.
They're both very, very young. What kind of advice would you give to the young and upcoming paranormal investigator? Because they don't even know where to start. They don't have any money for equipment. They don't. Where would you start as a small investigator?
Well, what I started doing, and this is, of course, I'm dating myself. It's way back in the day, but I had a tape recorder, kind of the old ones with the big buttons that you pushed on it. But you could even get a digital recorder, audio recorder, for about $20 to $30. That's really good quality, and start doing EVPs in cemeteries. EVP is electronic voice phenomenon, and you basically ask questions to the air, and then you pause and wait for an answer. But it's really important to pause and wait for that answer that you won't hear at the time. But when you play the tape back, sometimes you'll hear answers to your questions.
Oh, wow.
That's a really good kind of inexpensive way. Way back in 2001, I went online and found plans because I had no money. I was in the Army. I had absolutely no money. And all my equipment was back at home, which was in California, and I was up in Washington. And I built an EMF meter, which is the electromagnetic frequency meters. But they had these plans online to build it, and you could get all the stuff at Radio Shack to do that.
Oh, wow.
So for the equipment, that's it. But I just want to say something real quick about paranormal investigating. That the shows make it look like you just get equipment, you go out to a scary place, and hopefully you get something. And that is a form of paranormal investigation for sure. But my group, that's called Where Angels Fear to Tread, we actually do a full-on investigation. We'll look at the history of the house, the history of the people, their religion, if there's any history of mental illness in the family, if there's a teenager in the house, because a lot of times teenagers are the cause of a lot of paranormal activity.
Really?
Well, in your teenage years, your brain grows 2 pounds. It's the most your brain will grow in a short distance of time in your lifespan. And there's nothing but electrochemical stuff going on in your brain at the time.
You mean like teen angst and all that?
Yeah, then you put in the hormonal shifts that teenagers go through. I mean, they're clinically psychotic, for God's sakes. I
remember being a teenager and being a crazy teen. I'm still crazy now. What am I saying?
Well, I'm right there with you, believe me, totally. But I had gotten mad at my mom at one point when I was 15, and we were arguing, and we were a radically dysfunctional family, but I think we were happy with it at that point. But I had yelled at her, and a vase broke. And we both kind of looked at each other like, whoa, well, that's weird. But, of course, we went on with our argument regardless. But the kinetic energy that kids can generate that they don't even know that they're generating can be a lot of cause for what's called poltergeist activity. So,
wow, that's wild.
Well, yeah, if somebody is trying to get into it, just if you're doing somebody, I'll leave it to if you're doing somebody's house kind of thing, and that's all that our group does now is that people contact us when they're afraid and they need help. We kind of got out of the business of trying to prove something a long time ago, because to us it's just a part of life. That there are ghosts out there. There are spiritual entities that have never been human. And that's the kind of stuff that we focus on, how to help these people either deal with it or get rid of it. But to do that, you really need to do a real investigation, and to know that these people are looking at you as the experts. Even if you've got your YouTube show, people are assuming, okay, these guys know what they're doing, so you can't scream like a 3-year-old and run out of the room if something happens. You have to...
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you hear something creepy in the other room, you want to run to that and try to get it on tape or on video and audio and all that stuff. So.
Wow.
That was probably a much longer explanation than you wanted.
No, it's great. No, that's actually fascinating stuff. I never knew the teenage aspect of it or, anything like that. Yeah, it does, you watch, because I watch those shows. The paranormal investigation shows and stuff, and you see them go in there with all the fancy stuff, and
Oh yeah, well they all got and it can get so expensive so quickly. I mean, I don't have I don't use what am I trying to say, like night vision. I have night vision goggles that I'll use every once in a while, and I got mine at Toys R Us.
At Toys R Us?
Well, they've got this spy thing for kids. And they're not as complicated as the ones like the military uses, or even the ones that they sell for paranormal investigation. But they actually are infrared goggles, and you can record on them.
Oh, wow.
And they're only like $30. So this is like paranormal investigating on a budget kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, they didn't have stuff like that when I was a kid. Kids today got everything.
The most thing we had was like little pens that kind of looked like binoculars or something. I don't know.
Wow! Now you can buy ghost gear at Toys R Us. You can just go and
it's not called ghost gear. It's like called, it's like spy equipment kind of. I can't remember the brand name, and I got that 5 years ago. So now it's probably, in fact, the only difference between the plastic ones that I've used and the metal ones I used when I was in the Army is that one's plastic and one's metal. They both have almost the identical capabilities. So, I know this is really off the wall. And the other weird thing that I'll just throw out there about Toys R Us is they sell Ouija boards. So does Walmart, for God's sakes. I mean,
Parker Brothers brand. I know they make it. Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. You guys, huh?
Yeah, but if you want a good Ouija board, you got to go and get the handcrafted one. That's.
Well, all that stuff I try to buy on Etsy, or if somebody's got it on Twitter, just because they're usually mom and pop shops.
Yep.
I mean, and you want to support those guys. The big conglomerates and corporations just kind of drive me crazy.
Oh, definitely. Well, I'm sure all that information will help Spanky and Debo very much. They're young. Spanky is 15 now, and Debo is 18, and they have the worst time because of their age. There's a meat packing plant that's abandoned that they really want to go investigate, but they can't seem to get the permission. There's a lot of things that hold them back because people are looking at them like, oh, who are these kids? Won't let them investigate.
Well, if you want, you can post my email at the end of the broadcast, and if they need to get or just give it to them, I'll give it to you. Because I've got some standard forms, and they're just like permission forms, and whether you're going to somebody's house, like, okay, kind of liability stuff.
Oh, wow. That is so nice of you. That's awesome. I will definitely do that. Well, I will post a link, of course, to your YouTube channel and, of course, to Scream Radio and all that.
Oh, also. Well, a lot of that stuff you don't. I mean, the only reason that I even have them or know about them is because I've been doing it so long and getting in trouble, like going to a cemetery at night without having permission, just being a stupid kid. and getting busted.
You got busted?
Try to tell the cops, no, I'm doing, especially, this was back in the early 80s, so I'm telling them, no, I'm doing an investigation, and they're like, in a cemetery. Okay, freak, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's different today, but you still have, when I was young, I just didn't think about that kind of thing, but you still have these weird liability issues, and so do the people. Like, if they went into that factory and got hurt, they could sue the factory, even though they were there illegally, without permission. They could still sue the factory, or the factory could sue them, and it just gets complicated and weird, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, well, it's tough trying to break into the business. And what about joining a group? Would you recommend that, or...
I think to start out with, absolutely. I think with any of this stuff, get a mentor and in your area. And there are groups literally I live in the high desert, and there's 14 groups out here in this 2 little towns that we have.
Wow, 14.
Oh, yeah. And there's from mom and pop deals all the way up to guys that have spent 10 grand on their equipment, you know. So, yeah, it's pretty wild. We're kind of a grassroots deal. Like we have a Facebook page, but that's kind of it right now. It's all word of mouth. And for a while, we had 10 cases of the shoot. And we were so busy, it was ridiculous, you know?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but it ebbs and flows, you know. It's going to sound ridiculous and very... I don't know, hippie and new agey, but it follows. A lot of times it'll follow the phases of the moon, or the equinox, or the solstice. A lot of activity seems to happen around those times of year. So,
well, my bathroom seems to become haunted every time this time of year. So I totally, yeah, I can kind of see that. It goes away and then it comes back.
Well, I watched that video, your YouTube video on that link you sent me, and believe it or not, when you do construction in a house, if there is even a possibility of paranormal activity, that seems to stir it up. So it could be faulty wiring. I mean, if we were doing an investigation without knowing anything else but just seeing that video and hearing and giving me that paragraph of what was going on, right? Mm-hmm. I couldn't say definitively, no, your place is haunted because of this is going on, because of the possibility of it being wiring. Right. But it seems to me, I saw what they thought was an orb. To me, that I'm with you on it. It seemed more like dust going by.
Yeah, I can't tell the difference. That's why I wanted to give it to a professional, because to me, to my eyes, I mean, I see drywall dust, you know. Yeah. And when I posted the video, you know, somebody else said they saw an orb, but like to somebody like me who hasn't experienced a lot and hasn't seen a lot, you know, I don't know the difference. I can't tell.
And the crazy thing is that I can't tell you how many people have sent me pictures of what they consider orbs, and 99% of it is just dust particles. An orb, to me anyway, this is how I define it. It's got its own light source. So it's not just something reflecting. There's a real difference in you. If I'll try to send you some pictures of some actual orb activity.
Okay.
Because there's a real difference between just dust flying around and kind of reflecting for the camera, or getting pixelated with a camera, and something a ball that has its own light emanating from it. You know what I mean? To me, there's a real clear difference. Even if you can see through the orb, if it's luminescent, then to me it's an orb. And not everybody agrees with me on that. In fact, the crazy thing about the paranormal scene right now, there's so many shows on it, right?
Oh, yeah. Tons and tons. Yeah.
YouTube, and even on cable news, or not cable news, but cable and the whole 9 yards, that people kind of consider themselves an expert after watching a few seasons of these shows.
Yeah.
And more power to them. But, you know, when you go like to somebody's house and you actually come up with explanations for the stuff that's going on, just rational explanations, they're either disappointed or angry. Or if nothing happens when you're there, because we won't just go to one place one time, we'll do it 2 or 3 times within a month period. Because just because I show up doesn't mean a ghost is going to show up or activity's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Are they following you around,
But people expect, because they've seen these shows, well, when these guys show up, something's going to happen. And so you try to reassure people, because at first they're afraid and embarrassed. They don't want to be known as the house with a bunch of crazy people that have ghosts, right?
Right.
But then they get offended that it is a rational explanation. And some of those explanations are like, if you've got a lot of electricity running through a wall or a lot of wires, it gives off an electromagnetic field. Now, everything on the planet has an electromagnetic field, but with that kind of electricity, if there's power lines nearby, whatever the case may be, it can cause people to get that fight or flight instinct, feel very afraid.
Mm-hmm.
It can make them nauseous. And in some cases, it can make them see things. Now, the controversy is, does it make them see things, or does it allow them to see things that you wouldn't normally be able to see without that field there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm following you.
So, but I blame a lot of it on these TV shows where they're not going to show an episode where nothing happens, because that's just bad television, right?
Right.
Or even on the YouTube channel, you're not going to do an investigation where absolutely nothing happens, because nobody's going to watch it unless the people are really funny and it's just their interactions that are hilarious, which is why I'm tuning in, right? Right. So people just expect that things are, like I said, things are going to happen because you're there with cameras. And I actually don't post any EVPs or any pictures or any of that kind of stuff unless I get permission from the family. Mm-hmm. Which is almost never the case, because they don't want to be that house. And they don't want people to come to their house and be like, oh, this is the haunted house.
Oh, yeah, you'd get a bunch of ghost hunting people coming to your house. I didn't even really think of that, because, yeah, some people are, like, really serious about this stuff and would come to the house. Yeah.
Well, and believe it or not, this particular field attracts a lot of nutballs. So
oh, yeah.
You get
I wouldn't want a bunch of people in my lawn, like, trying to...
or email, calling you, all that stuff. So for the most part, I think I've posted a couple of things, or actually, no, I've promised to post things that I never have, because I'm a terrible person. But
it doesn't make you a terrible person.
Well, I always change my mind at the last. No, I'm not going to do that. And there's a lot of people that their entire career is just debunking this stuff, and for me, it's a moot point. I mean, either if you've experienced the first thing that you experience, where if you see something, and I don't know if you've ever seen anything like this, you see something that you go, okay, that can't be happening, but it's happening. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
UFO or a Bigfoot, whatever, or a ghost, whatever, if you hear something or even if you feel something and you go, no, this isn't right, but you can't fit it in anywhere logically, it either changes you to open your mind to those possibilities, or you shut it out and kind of deny the whole thing happened. But if you have enough of those experiences, like for me doing this for basically 30 years, I don't feel the need to prove myself about it anymore. It's just part of the natural world. You know what I mean?
Okay. Well, so. That actually brings up another question though. With everybody trying to get views, everybody trying to prove stuff, there's a lot of fake stuff out on the internet. And do you feel that takes away from people believing in the unknown or trying to seek it, because everybody starts feeling that everybody's making stuff up and it's fake?
To a certain degree, I do.
Ah, crap. Oh, man. Rev, you still there? Oh. Okay, there we go. All right. I got his back now.
All right.
Oh, man. Yeah, the puppers had come through and had unplugged some stuff, and I'm watching the bar next to speaker, and it's not going up and down, and I was like, I hope it's been recording.
Oh no. Well, it's just part of life with a baby dog, you know. What can you do?
Ah, goodness. But, oh, man. Okay, so. I guess it's called the Craptastic Podcast for a reason. Boy, oh boy. So, once I told some of my friends that I was having a paranormal investigator on the show, everybody had about 1 million questions that they wanted me to ask you. So
nice.
I suppose I could get to some of the questions that everybody had been asking. The first one is, does salt really stop a ghost?
Well, that's kind of a complicated. What? let me try to, because I hope this doesn't put any of your listeners off, but I'm also a Wiccan priest, and so I do ritual magic where you do use salt and water to cast a circle and keep things out. It's not like Supernatural though, where you just put salt on the windows and the doors to keep the demons away, kind of thing. That is kind of an old wives' tale. Now there is something that's pretty good for keeping things out of your home, but it does tend to disturb some people. It's the dirt from an infant's grave. Yeah, which is kind of disturbing. But the dirt from an infant's grave, if you put it around the house, there's also something called Kufr dust. That's part of the voodoo tradition. That is a mixture of brick and a lot of other things. You can find recipes for that online if that's your brand of vodka, and so kind of surround the house with that, you know. Okay. But don't just do the doorways and the windowsills. You actually want to put it all around the house. Okay. But that's to keep something out. If you've already got a haunting going on in your house, you probably don't want to do that till after you clear the house, because you're kind of trapping whatever it is.
Keeping it in.
Purpose, yeah. So.
But does salt work as a good alternative if you can't get
salt spiritually, and in this kind of deal, is a cleansing thing, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't use it as a deterrent. That's been seeped into our consciousness so much. Supernatural has just become a part of pop culture. It's been on for 13 years or something crazy like that. So a lot of people get a lot of their information from
movies and stuff, right?
The crazy thing is there is a lot of really good information in some of those stuff. They're real gigs, right? Salt iron is a really good way to keep yourself safe from spiritual baddies, for lack of a term, spiritual bad guys. Iron works really well, but you don't want to surround your house with iron. That would be very medieval. And
you'd have a fortress. You might as well dig a moat, have the alligator in there.
You'd have like a rock and metal place, but other than that, you're kind of like, well,
if you're into that, there you go.
Yeah. But even that's what Supernatural got right. I don't think you could just spell a ghost like, when they get like an iron poker and they smack a ghost and it dissipates. Doesn't quite work that way, but having iron on you, we're gonna go down the rabbit hole a little bit, but not just for ghosts, but it works really well for fae too, for those who believe in the fae and fairies and that kind of thing.
Okay. What is the difference between a ghost and a demon?
Well, a ghost is somebody that has been alive and passed away. And a demon is something from another realm, from another reality that's in our reality.
Oh, okay. So people can't become demons?
What's that?
So a person cannot become a demon, or?
No, you can get possessed by a demon. It can possess your vessel. But a ghost cannot become a demon, no.
Okay.
Now, let me say at the outset here, I am not the end-all and be-all of paranormal investigation. There are people that will disagree with some of the things that I'm saying. But this is just from my experience that sometimes a ghost will try to act that way, though try to move things or scare people intentionally. And if it gets ramped up enough, it can actually do some damage. But demons are a whole nother animal, feeling wise, and the things that happen and the smells, and it's a completely different entity from a ghost.
Okay. Cool. No, it's all very fascinating stuff, really. You know, I'm a person that, you know, I haven't researched anything, you know. I love horror movies and I love horror and stuff like that, but, you know, to actually learn about stuff is, you know, really fascinating to me. I really like it, you know.
Nice. Yeah.
But I'm definitely no expert or anything, and, you know, a lot of the stuff that I'm hearing is stuff that I've, you know, never heard before, so it's like, you know, it's really interesting to me.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting because most of the people that I know kind of believe the same, have a lot of the same experiences I do. So when I talk about it, it can sound very mundane. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, no, it's not mundane to me and my audience, let me tell you that.
I'm coming off like, yeah, and goes through this. You know what I mean? Because it is still, every time I go on an investigation and something happens, it's like the first time. I'm like a little kid. I get really excited. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool.
That's awesome. Well, it's good that you keep that passion. You know, the stuff stops being fun when it's a job. You know? No,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what's hilarious is, like, my whole family thinks I'm a nut, right? And I was after this stuff. My sister passed away a couple of years ago, but when she was alive, she would just be like, I can't believe you take this stuff seriously. And I would tell her, Leslie, it's the two big questions, right? What happens when we die? And are we alone in the universe? Like, as far as UFO paranormal investigations go and that kind of thing. So these are the two major questions of our lifetime, right? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, how can you not be excited and interested in this stuff? And I say that just because I guess I am.
I'm sure, you know, everybody has thought about it at least once. You know, what happens when you die? I mean, that's a question that, you know, everybody has thought about it. You know, everybody has their own opinion about what happens, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have found too that I don't think I've run into a family that doesn't have a ghost story in their family somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where something's happened, or my uncle. You know what I mean? Somebody's got something that happened, or know somebody that something happened to. So. Oh,
definitely. Well. In my case, half my family is Canadian, and then half my family is Southern from Kentucky. And boy, they have some stories. My Aunt Jetty used to keep me up at night telling me these horror stories, and I'd be like, "Woo, that's scary!" You know, I would be able to sleep. You know, we'd go on family road trips, and she'd be telling me these scary stories. Well, you know, but it was great, though. You know, I loved it. You know. But, you know, she had some tales to tell. I'll tell you that.
That is so fun. I was born in Kentucky, and I got family up in the hills. That is so funny. My Auntie Annie and her husband, Uncle Trigger, only in Kentucky, I swear to God.
Yeah.
He would tell stories, and she would tell stories all the time. And her sister, my grandma, and my mom would roll their eyes, and I'd just be riveted, like, oh my God, this is the most amazing stuff I've ever heard.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I did too. Okay, we got some more questions here. We got a couple more here. Okay, where is the most haunted place you've ever been?
Well, there was a mobile home on somebody's property that part of the family used to live in. An uncle had died there, but there was so much activity in this place, from this weird, almost Japanese-style faceless ghost was groping the males that lived there, like molesting the males that lived there.
Sounds like something I'd do after I died.
But they couldn't move, and they were absolutely petrified, right? And there were shadow people that were there. You smell this horrible smell. And now when we investigated this place, there was no electricity. There hadn't been electricity in this place forever. And we got the weirdest EMF spikes, the electromagnetic frequency. Usually when there's a lot of activity, it'll spike up, right? The the electromagnetic field will be greater. But we found this little area, this 2-inch strip in the hallway where, and it was about 6 feet long, where it would drop down like 30 points. And with an EMF meter, that's huge. You usually get a variation of like 5 points one way or another. But it was this really weird drop. And I took a bunch of pictures around thinking, well, okay. And my night vision app that I had for my phone that I was taking pictures on actually at the time stopped working. And so did my flash. And I'm like, dang it. And a lot of our equipment had shut down too, which will happen on these kind of things. And so I just started taking pictures in the dark, right, with my camera. And there was some moonlight coming through, but very little. And the pictures we got back had these faces on them.
Oh, wow.
In the dark, but there were what's called sigils or symbols on some of the foreheads of these things. And when I looked them up, because I have all kinds of reference books, it'd be so much easier to go online, but I trust the old books more for some reason. Maybe just because I'm an old man, I don't know. But I have this list of demons and their corresponding symbols. And we found both of those symbols on the foreheads of these things in the house. It was one of the creepiest places I've ever been, and the activity was nonstop. And
this was a mobile home, you say?
It was a mobile home, yeah. I had another really strange experience in a mobile home that I'll tell you about in a sec, but I don't know what it is with mobile homes, for God's sakes. But, I know you'd think, oh, that sounds like something from, like, I don't know, hillbilly.
Well, usually you think of a haunted place, the first thing you think of is cemetery, hotel.
Yeah, or house. Yeah. But this place, woof, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. And we ended up doing a spiritual cleansing of the place to clear everything out. But what we came to the conclusion of is there was actually a portal in the house. Now, believe it or not, I know this is down the rabbit hole, but there are these kind of spiritual black holes, for lack of a better term, that are almost seem to be like, trying to think of the name, like almost wormholes, right, for spiritual entities. Wow. And you can clear the house till the cows come home, but if that thing's still open, it's not going to
come in, right?
You're going to get a fresh batch of creepies. So
fresh batch of creepies coming in. Break out the coffee cake.
That's right. That's a technical term, of course. But so we ended up doing this, me and another guy, and I know I'm probably losing people at this point because I've dealt with the occult for so long and been a Wiccan priest for almost as long as I've been doing investigations. And so we did a ceremony to close the portal, and it seemed to work. So that was the only place I've been in where I felt unsafe. Where it's like, we always do these things where we try to. I have if this is too esoteric, please let me know if I'm going too far down the rabbit hole here.
No, go for it.
I have the tail of a raven that I use for a spiritual cleansing, right? And sage, that because you don't want these things following you home.
Oh, right. Now, see, I've heard of that one. I've heard you got to be careful of having stuff follow you home.
And you really do. And since I have a 13-year-old in the house, I don't. And he's known about this stuff since he's been conscious, because it's kind of one of the things that I do a lot. So he's aware of all this stuff. But you don't want to bring anything home and expose anybody else to that kind of stuff. In fact, in my entryway and around my house, I have all kinds of sigils and spiritual protection symbols. In fact, my body is covered with tattoos, believe it or not, for spiritual protection. I look like a extra from Sons of Anarchy or something, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, but nothing's gonna come get you in the night either.
Some people swear they can see some of my tattoos glow depending on where we go. So, which is really
cool.
Yeah. And there was actually, I'm not one of these. I don't have tattoos just to because I think they look cool, even though I think they look cool.
They look cool, yeah. Come on, they look awesome.
But at the same time, each one, while it was being done, we were performing a ceremony to make sure that this was for protection and not you know, just a cool design somebody found on the net kind of thing, you know. So that's a way longer explanation, I'm sure, than you wanted for the scariest place I've ever been in. But let me just tell you real quick the other story. This was one of the first deals where it was like, I don't care what anybody says. You know, this stuff is real. I was with my buddy. We were in the Army. He helped me start Where Angels Fear to Tread, my buddy Charlie. And we were investigating this mobile home. It was really late at night, just about 3:30. And I had to use the restroom. And from the kitchen to the restroom, it was about maybe 4 feet, right? But it was totally dark down the hallway because we had all the lights out doing the investigation. So I started walking for the bathroom. I ended up walking 30 feet. And I didn't come to the end of the trailer, which was 15 feet. And when I looked back, the light that was on the kitchen stove was very far away. So losing all my composure, I ran like a 3-year-old screaming into the kitchen. And when I turned on the light to that hallway, it was literally, the bathroom was 3 feet on the left. So I have no explanation. There's no way I could prove this experience to anybody. But to me,
oh man.
So, and I kept thinking, well, what if I had kept walking? Do you know what I mean?
But if you would have kept walking, what if you walked into the portal? Or is that possible?
That's what I'm saying. Like, had I already entered something? Because I was so far away from the physical boundaries of the house.
Wow.
You know, 15 feet past where the house stopped, where the wall to the bedroom stopped in the mobile home. Just a wild experience. Really, really wild.
Whoa. Feel any, like, lightheadedness or anything?
Just being in complete darkness like that was very disorienting. It was almost sensory deprivation takes a couple times, and it's a lot like that, where I couldn't hear anything, I couldn't feel anything, and I couldn't see anything. Really creepy.
Really creepy.
Yeah, fun. Not one of the fun episodes that happened for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I gotta get a drink here. I gotta clear my throat a little.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, our next question comes from my good old Bobo the Clown. Bobo the Clown wants to know that if you masturbate on a haunted bed, can you summon a demon?
Well, Bobo, you know, I'm not going to stop you from doing your thing. I mean, you know, if that's your gig, go for it. What's really surreal, and this is so off the mark, so inappropriate, it's ridiculous, but there is a form of ceremonial sexual magic. Because, and bear with me on this, and if I'm too far afield, rein me in. There is no power greater than the power of an orgasm or a creation, right?
Really?
So
you really can summon a demon?
It's one of the most powerful magics out there, sex magic, believe it or not. So I guess you could go solo, you know, if that's you can't find a partner, Bobo, you know, more power to you. But it's more than just, God, how can I say this to be politically correct? More than just nurking the throat on the bed, you know what I mean? It's more than just get your thing on and hopefully you're going to summon something. It's kind of a complicated process. The idea is to be able to keep your will and your focus while all that's happening, which is no easy task.
Man. Oh, there's no way that I could focus on some demons when I'm getting it on. There's no way.
Well, initially, I should say it's not really for summoning demons. It's for casting a spell.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
Right?
But what if it's a hot demon, you know?
Well, yeah, hey, I'm not saying it can't be used for that. Don't get me wrong.
Don't give me ideas here, Reverend.
If going for the Tim Curry thing in Legend, I feel you. I understand. Clive Barker actually wrote a book. I wish I could remember the name of the book.
Oh man, Clive Barker! I'm amazed with the man. I really am.
He really is amazing.
Yeah.
he wrote this book where one of the things that the guy summoned, he did that way. But it also involved cockroaches and a lot of other horrible imagery. I'm not going to throw on your listeners. But that's fiction. I mean, I have never even, I don't really get into the summoning of things. That's just not my gig. There's other ways to get what you want if you're going for ceremonial magic. You don't have to use other entities to do what you need to do. That's a really dangerous way to go, because if it's very strict, I know this is so off the field of paranormal, it's not even funny, but the rules are so strict in that particular ceremonial environment that if you screw up in any way, you could really do some damage to yourself. So I would advise your listeners not to do that, and if you're dead set on doing it, get somebody that knows what they're doing to help you.
Why would you want to summon a demon anyway? It's not like they're going to show up and clean your house.
I don't know. Well, you know, and even in Wicca and in the different pagan religions, there's a lot of people that get into it because it's different, because they want to feel special or feel like they've got, you know.
Maybe they want to see if it's really going to happen, maybe?
Yeah, and you know, you got shows like Harry Potter and that kind of thing, and I'm not saying that they cause people to go far afield. Far from it. Those are fantastic movies and books. But they want to, they really desperately want that stuff to be real. And they wear, a lot of them are very goth and wear heavy makeup, and, you know, more power to you. But that's really not what it's ultimately about. When you're dealing with, and I know this is not what you had me on this show for, but when you're dealing with magic, you're dealing with, you know, positive powers of love and creation, you know, and so you need to learn how to do those things responsibly. So that's it. There's my little PSA for magic. Thank you very much.
Peace and love. Is it true to be a reverend, you have to have a near-death experience? And if so, have you ever had one? Well,
I have never had I've been in a lot of situations where I was almost dead, but I've never had an actual near-death experience. And no, you don't. You can actually become a reverend just by going on the Universal Life Church webpage and filling out a form and hit send, and you're a reverend. You can even go to the Church of Dudism if you're a Big Lebowski fan. And
that thing exists?
It's crazy. I went for it because I'm like, well, shit. Pardon my French again. I'm so sorry. But I was like, well, why not? You know what I mean? If this thing exists and you can legally marry somebody under that church, it's hilarious.
Wow.
So, but my actual reverendship came from a coven that I had been involved with for almost 10 years when I lived in San Francisco years ago, in my early 20s. And I had to go through years of training to get to that point in that particular religion. So for me, it's a real deal. But if you want to become a reverend, yeah, just go to Universal Life Church or Church of Dudism, hit the button, and they will send you your little degree.
Wow.
Yeah, or you can print it out. It's just that easy, people. And you get a matching set of steak knives as well. So.
Wow.
Well, you don't get the steak knives, but.
Aw,
you know.
Darn it.
Yeah, I know.
I was hoping for Ginsu, man.
I know.
Ginsu, darn it.
Make some of those fries julienne, you know?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. In my high school days, I dabbled in the Wiccan religion. I say dabbled, I read some books and thought I knew what I was talking about. But here again, we're talking teenage shell here, right? You know? So, I mean, I know a little bit. I don't know a lot, you know, but I do know the books that I read, you know, it's All Life is Precious and, you know, that type of stuff. And I know in there it said you're not supposed to kill anything. You're not supposed to kill insects. You're not supposed to kill. Is that true?
Well, you know, there's no definitive book. there's so many different branches of witchcraft, from Gardnerian to Majestic to Dianic. And so nobody actually speaks for all of Wicca. Okay, any book you buy is painted towards either like a solitary, somebody who doesn't want to join a coven but wants to become a Wiccan, or painted towards a certain tradition within that. Like Raymond Buckland wrote a book called The Complete Book of Witchcraft. Everybody calls it the Big Blue Book, Witchcraft from A to Z. Now that's his particular brand of witchcraft that he got from the Gardnerian tradition. It's called Seax Wicca. But it's a very informative book, and it really goes through the A to Z of that tradition. And when you're done, the chapters aren't presented as chapters; they're presented as lessons. And if you really go through it, they cover everything from magic to herbology to meditation to the different chants and the different holidays, the whole 9 yards. If it's something you really want to pursue, and it's not easy, it takes a lot of work. And if it didn't, it probably wouldn't be anything valid, you know.
I see. Well, I got a friend. Her name is Crystal, and she's Wiccan, and she talks about having her circles and stuff. And I keep poking at her, like, hey, having a circle, hey, because I want her to invite me, but I don't want to invite myself, right?
Well, you got to tell her if it would be okay if you observed one, or if you could talk to her about it. Because usually, like a circle or a coven, they have like an interview process before you're allowed into their circle or their coven to become part of the family.
Nah, so I know. They probably don't want this weirdo in there to join the circle anyway. I don't know about that shell. Yeah. Well, in my case, I'm kind of outside the box because, most families teach their children the religion of that family. Right. A Christian family as a kid, and they will raise them to be Christian, Baptist, all of them,
Right.
In my case, my parents told me, you figure out what you believe in, and you figure it out yourself.
Right.
But in a way that kind of hurt me, because now I'm lost. I don't know what the heck, And
well, you don't have to believe in anything. You know what I mean? You can drive on and do your thing without some sort of spiritual path, for sure. But
it's true, but kind of, there's so many, and I studied. I was learning Japanese in college.
Wow, nice.
Part of learning Japanese means you have to learn the religion stuff. So I learned Shinto and I learned Buddhism and stuff. And I was like, well, maybe I fit in with Buddhists. Maybe I fit in with this. Maybe I fit in with that. And I never did find like where I belong. So when it comes to like religion, I like studying all of it. I just curiosity,
I am the exact same way. I was actually raised by atheists. And then I had to get clean when I was 22, and they said, hey, you need a higher power, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, great. So,
great.
Yeah, I'm like, geez Louise. So I went up to Berkeley, and they have their theology department's called Holy Hill because it's on this hill. And I talked to basically the three Abrahamic religions, right? I spent a bunch of time in a mosque, in a Jewish temple to talk to them about their religion. I spent years and made some friends with the Jesuits up there. It was on a real spiritual quest because I wanted to find what was right for me, not necessarily the truth, because I don't think it doesn't make sense to me that there would be one universal truth that everybody would understand the same way, because cultures are so different that if there is some sort of God or spirituality or universal force, however you want to put it, I think it would express itself differently to each culture so they could understand what it's about, right?
Right.
So to me, they're all valid. But it took me a long time because I grew up in the 70s and my mom marched for the ERA and was head of the Women's Political Caucus and very much a hippie. Wicca really appealed to me because it had both a god and a goddess. But it also made really clear that while there is a god and a goddess, they're part of something bigger that's just expressing itself through the masculine and the feminine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah.
So that really jived with me, and I liked that we got in touch with the phases of the moon and the different seasons. Since we're a part of the Earth, we would be affected by the seasons of the Earth. I really like that idea a lot. So for me, Wicca worked, but honestly, it doesn't work for everybody, and I don't know any Wiccan group that's out knocking on doors trying to recruit.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's for you, you're going to find it. If it's not, you'll find something else. You know.
Right. I think that's what attracted me to Buddhism so much, is because they accept everybody.
Oh yeah.
Everybody. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter. You know, they just accept everybody, and that's what attracted me to that. You know, not saying that I'm a Buddhist or anything. I'm just saying that I was attracted to that aspect of it, but.
It's a super cool religion. When I spent about 2 months in Japan every year when I was in the Army, and when I would stay in a hotel, instead of the Gideon's Bible, they have the Book of Buddha, right?
Yeah.
And so when I left the first time, I'm like, can I take this? Could you bill me for this? And they're like, no, take it. I think it's a beautiful religion. My sister was a Buddhist. Really, really beautiful look on life, you know? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know where I'll end up, but I'm young yet, so I'm sure somewhere along the line I'll fall in somewhere, but...
Well, I know a lot of my uncle's super eclectic. He got into the Kabbalah a lot, but he had been a Wiccan for years, and he's read tarot cards forever. But he's really gotten into Buddhism lately. So, I mean, he's very eclectic, kind of taking what he likes from each tradition, which I think is fantastic, you know?
Oh, yeah. It just kind of feels, when you meet somebody that is really about their religion and stuff and everything, I feel a tad bit jealous, I guess, because they're so solid.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
What I miss about, I'm not involved in any coven any longer, and I kind of miss the sense of community. Like a bunch of like-minded people, or at least they're on this. They can agree on one thing. You know what I mean? They can all agree, like, well, this is what we believe spiritually, or else I'll watch people go to church, and there's that real cool sense. I mean, say what you want about Christianity, but they do have that beautiful sense of community to it.
Yes,
you know,
they do.
They get together every Sunday, or if you need something, you call somebody, your buddy in the church or your pastor, and I think that's really, really cool.
They always have donations and helping out the poor, and it's.
I mean, that's something I do kind of feel like an outsider in. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, me too.
I look at it and go, oh God, that is super cool, but just can't get behind the whole Abrahamic thing.
I can't either. Well, I had a really bad experience.
No.
When I was about 9 years old, okay, and you go to public school, and the other kids would talk about Sunday school and church and stuff, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know nothing, and I wanted to know, who is this God person and what is everybody talking about. So my mother told me, well, we're going to Kentucky, and they're Baptists there. We're going to Kentucky, and you can go with your cousins, and you can go to Sunday school. And I was really excited. I was really happy. And so here we go. It's Sunday morning, and I'm up, and I go, and there's like the main church is where all the adults went to, and there was like this little back room where they sent us kids. And there was like a teacher back there. And if you answered a question correctly, then you get, like, those stickers, right? It's like the star sticker and all these stickers, right? Yeah. If you answered a question correctly, and you get a sticker. And so I was a new person, and I don't know, is it a teacher? The lady that was in charge, she was, like, asking me questions about Moses. And I said, I don't know who Moses is. And she gave me a nasty look, right?
Man.
And then she asked me some more questions that I didn't know anything. I don't know anything about the Bible, no Bible stories, no anything. And so she was like, I want to talk to your mother. And I was like, oh. And she got really mad because I didn't know anything. And then that made, for a long time, I really hated religion. I was so angry about the situation and what happened that I was like, well, screw them. I don't need to be a part of their group, you know?
No, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah, but, you know, I got older and then I, you know, became more accepting of more things and understood more things, you know?
Yeah.
You know, but
that kind of closed-minded stuff, though, is brutal. And I mean, I've had friends that I've known for years, and then they find out I'm a Wiccan, and they don't want to have anything to do with me.
Oh, you know? Yeah. There's that, too.
I'm not thumping any faith at all. I think they're all fantastic. That's the only thing I don't like about some Christianity in some churches, where if you're not part of the group, if you're not saved, you're burning, and we don't want to have anything to do with you. If you don't want to be saved, then you're going to burn in hell, and I'm sorry, but, you know, that's the deal. And that's where I have a problem with it, you know? It's like, well, no, I don't buy that, you know?
Yeah, me neither. Yep. It's like kind of saying, okay, well, my father, for example. My father is a good man. He sees good in everybody. And, you know, he can see no evil. He's like one of those people that, you know, if you need a place to stay, here's the couch. If you need something to eat, you come over. If you know, he's a good man, but he doesn't go to church, and he doesn't have, you know, do any of that stuff. So according to some religions, that means he's going to hell, and I don't believe that, you know, because.
Oh, I hear you. I that stuff drives me crazy. Even, you know, I've talked to people that these hardcore Baptists out here. They're really hardcore, and when I've had discussions with some of them, and I go, well, what about a baby that dies and hasn't accepted Christ because they're a baby and they haven't had that opportunity yet? And they're like, well, if they haven't accepted Christ, they're going to burn. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Yeah, that conception of God is like, I don't have anything to do with your God, if that's the case. And I am not trying to alienate any Christians.
No, I'm not either.
If you found Christ and you dig it, man, JC and the boys all the way. That's all I'm saying.
Fantastic. Yeah. Me too, man. Me too. Yeah, I don't hate on nobody, you know.
Life's too short to be hating. Good night.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Life is short. Oh my goodness. I can't. Like, it feels like time is moving so much faster, and I had somebody tell me, if you can see time at your age, then that's terrible. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, if you can see time right now at your age, then that's terrible. I'm like, oh. And I didn't really understand it, but the more and faster that time seems to be rolling, I'm like, holy crap.
Oh, yeah. Well, I told I joined the Army really late. I was around 35 when I joined, right? And I was only going to be in for 4 years initially. And when I told my oldest, who's 30 now, I said, but he was 16 at the time, or around there somewhere. Anyway, when I told him what was going on, I'm like, it's only 4 years. He's like, 4 years? Because for him, that's a third of his life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when you get older, 4 years is nothing. It's like, I can do 4 years standing on my head. This is like I'm doing 5 or something. Unbelievable. But your conception of time when you get older totally gets different, totally changes, you know?
It definitely does. Well, I can remember sitting in school, and a school day would feel like it lasted forever, right? You know? Now I blink and it's 6 o'clock. Holy crap! I got stuff to do. I got to get this done and that done.
Well, how about the weird difference between night and the morning? At night, I'll be like, okay, another half an hour, I'm going to go to bed. Or whatever. And I'll stay up too late. And in the morning, I'm like, no, just 5 minutes. And it goes by so quickly. And I go, no, 5 more minutes. I just want, you know what I mean? Or I hit the snooze. And it seems like I've just closed my eyes and opened them again. I'm like, no. Time's so quick in the morning when you got to go to work. You got to get ready and move, get out of the house. But at night, it's just like, no, it's just driving on, man. You know?
Yeah. No, I feel that too. I gotta hit the snooze. I set like 3 alarms to wake up. I really do. I got like 3 of them because I keep hitting the snooze bar.
Well, I started putting my alarm clock across the room so I'd have to get up to turn it off. But I found after about a month, I'd get up, hit the snooze, and then I'd walk back to bed. It's like, what are you doing? You're already up, man. Just, I'm an idiot. What can I tell you? Brave sleep in the morning, but I hate it at night.
I love that peace and quiet that you have, just that one moment, right? You know, you get to lay in bed and you can either read or watch a movie or, you know, get on YouTube or whatever, but like it's just that relaxation moment, but it goes by so fast. It's like, holy crap, now I gotta sleep because I gotta get up in the morning.
Well, that's the worst feeling in the world, when you know you gotta go to sleep, and panicking to get to sleep is not gonna work. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, now I gotta calm down some time, but I've got to be up. Oh my God, now in 4 hours. Oh my God, what am I gonna do? I hate that. I absolutely, because I suffer from insomnia every once in a while. And I'll tell you, when you're doing these investigations, because you're up all night. Because nights when
everything happens,
the most activity, right? So, you know, the family will come home in the morning, or usually one of them will still be in the house, and you're like, okay, well, it's 5:30. We're gonna pack up and go home. We'll let you know if we do find anything. And it takes 2 days. Now that I'm 52, it's like I need 2 days to recover from something like that. When I was a kid, it was like, oh man, I've been up for 3 days. This is so cool. Let's party. Oh my God.
Oh,
now,
man.
It's like, again, I'm not quite at the stage of my age, thank God, where I'm like, oh, it's 4:30. I better get to the food corral and, eat and get my senior special. I'm not quite there yet. You know what I mean? I will feel these late nights like I did not when I was even 10 years ago, I'll tell you.
Yep, pulling all nighter, chasing the ghosties, and then you gotta have a couple days to recover.
Yeah. And then you've got, like, let's say the investigation took 8 hours, right? From like 10 or just 7 hours, 10 to 5 in the morning, 10 at night to 5 in the morning. If you've got recordings going on that whole time, you've got 5 or 6 devices that you have to go through 7 hours just to get the information on one of those. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So again, to your those 2 young guys that were really stoked about doing this, man, I'm telling you, it sounds so fun, and the actual investigation, the boots on the ground part, is a blast. But the research and then going over the evidence can kill you. I'm telling you, it takes. Then after about 3 hours into it, you're just like, why did I choose to do this? This is just ridiculous, man, you know?
Oh, it's funny that you say that. Well, it's just like YouTube. You know, you see people on YouTube, and you're like, I can do that. And then once you start, when you get to the editing part, and you got to sit there and edit the videos, and you're like, wow, it's the same thing, ain't it? Oh man.
I don't know about your show, but for me, it's like a whole day process. Okay, I got to get my notes together, right, for what I'm going to do it on. Then I'll actually record it, and I'll usually record like 15 minutes more than I need to, so I can edit the goofy stuff out, right? Mm-hmm. Or the stuff that I was stuttering on, or I farted, or whatever the hell the case may be. Yeah. So then you go to the editing, right? Or then you do the actual recording, and then the editing process for me, the first time I really enjoyed it, I'm like, this is kind of cool. I can put words here, and I can make the picture look like this. That's really kind of cool. But then it kind of starts to become this task of, oh, God, okay, here we go. I've got this. And thank God I've got a lot of stuff cut and paste ready just to throw in there. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you live and you learn. You learn to do cut and paste.
The right picture. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I want this picture to go here, and I want it to be this. And then you got to search online for the right picture for it, or whatever the case may be. Oh man, I hear you. I've been doing this for 1 year now. 1 year as of the 30th, December 30th, the YouTube stuff.
Wow.
And I about halfway through the year, I started to feel kind of drudgery. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it was more of a task that I wanted it to be. And then my youngest son, he's got a YouTube channel called Prepped Ghost, and it's all gaming and goofy skits that he does. And he's the one that talked me into doing a channel. And he was the one that told me, well, Dad, just have fun again. Go out and have a good time. You love talking about this stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. And so he gave me this pep talk, and I got all excited again. And then what's weird is, and I don't know if you experience this, I can't believe we're talking about YouTube stuff on YouTube, but
hey, why not?
You get a topic and you think, oh, this show is just going to take off. This particular episode is just going to be amazing, right? And it doesn't get a lot of views, and you're like, oh my god, this but not. And then I've done one that I thought was kind of boring, and I'll get like 200 views on it. I go, what the? How did this happen?
Oh my goodness! Yes.
You know what I mean? And I just think that stuff. There's no rhyme or reason to it, as far as I can see. Maybe I'll find some algorithm in my brain that'll be able to predict what shows are fantastic and what aren't, or what people will want to watch. Because the ones that I think are fantastic and cool, apparently people are yawning.
I know. Oh my goodness, it's so funny that you said that. Well, see, I have a random channel. Well, what I have is I do Let's Plays, like your son does, and then I have animations that I do.
Nice.
And then I have this podcast, right? So I had put up a poll, and I had asked people, because it was so random, you know.
Right.
I'm also going to start doing animated horror movies coming up pretty soon.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but because the channel was so random, you know, I put up this poll and I asked people, I said, what do you guys like to see the most? And believe it or not, a lot of people voted for this podcast. And I said, what? You know, because I put so much effort into the animations, you know.
Yes.
It takes so much time to make them. And then, you know, in the editing process, I'd add all the stuff and effects and this, that, you know, everything. And people like the podcast. And I was like, wow. Well, that and gaming. They like the gaming. But I do have quite a few fanboys, and the reason why they like the gaming is because I have the face cam up in the corner, and you can see me.
Oh, there you go.
I was told that. I was told, well, I like gaming because then I can see you on the face cam.
Well, you know, it's funny because I think the only time I've seen you, I was watching some of your videos for this, and I saw Magic Show. I think it was the Magic Show in December.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's what she looks like, right? I could see how you'd have a bunch of fanboys following you around. That makes sense.
I love them. I do. I love them to death. I get some weird DMs every once in a while, but that's okay, you know.
Well, you can only imagine the kind of weird DMs that I get that are just like, whoa, man. Really? You know? When I've told a couple of people, you know, I think you should talk to somebody and get some help. And of course they get and I'm like, no, really, you're completely insane. This is so off the wall. And this is coming from me. Do you know what I mean? Like a myriad experiences, and I consider myself very open-minded. And if I'm telling you, hey, man, you might need some meds, and they're just like, you screw you son of a...
Yeah. People don't like to hear that. Don't want to be so...
But really, when there's no other explanation, you know, that you go, well, okay, either you're completely insane or you have the most haunted place that anybody has ever heard of. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And I have a pretty good BS meter, too.
Yeah, I do, too. Oh, boy. Yes, I do.
Tell me a story, and I'll go, okay, well, and as soon as somebody knows, I'm a paranormal investigator, they either got to tell me a story or they know something. Well, have you heard of this story? You know, this, you know, I go, no, yeah, lay it on me, you know. Because, you know, I don't want to shut anybody off or not hear what they have to say, for sure. But some of them are just like, you are so full of it, man. How do you function on this level? But I saw your schedule too. I saw that you're doing a show every single day of the week.
I'm going to try. But
Good
see,
night. I do two shows a week.
Huh?
I do 2 shows a week, and I cannot imagine doing one every day. It would be all I'd be doing.
Kind of. Well, see, that's why this is my plan. See, I've been recording videos, you know, for the last month, and then this month I'm not going to put up too much because I'm going to be making videos and posting them to February so that I can get some backstock, right? So then while the videos are playing on February, I'll be making the ones for next month and next, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to...
Well, that's totally the way to do it. I do that with my film reviews, my horror film reviews.
Ah, yeah.
Well, I'll record 10 in a couple of days, and then just dole them out, you know, one a week kind of deal. Because for me, I find if I put up a video, I tried for a while to put up 4 or 5 videos a week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kick them out. But my views dropped radically. And I know it's not about the views, but it's kind of about the views. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to get enough views to where I get that sweet YouTube money. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but...
And I know that's very mercenary, but that's a reality, you know?
Well, it shocked me that you said that. Well, like, as far as, like, my Let's Plays go, you know, my competition is, like, you know, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, all these guys that put out videos every single day, and not just one, but 2 of them. And it's like, I figured, okay, well, I guess you have to have, like, constant content to make people happy, is what I kind of thought. But I didn't expect it to drop like that. I guess I'll find out.
The thing is, too, those guys have been doing it for a long time, and they'll even say, can't remember what the guy was that my son's a diehard fan of, but he would say, my first 2 years, I had, at the end of 2 years, maybe 300 subscribers, maybe, and then for whatever reason it took off. And then they get money to where they can do those deals with a lot of really cool high-tech equipment, too, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they got the monies.
And they're a lot of the, well, not a lot of them, but some of these guys, they all live in the same house together. You know what I mean? These gamer guys, and they've bought with their sweet YouTube money. But they've got, like, you know, 1 million subscribers and that kind of thing, which of course is the goal, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
But it's like my 13-year-old little Buddha wisdom kid will tell me, Dad, this stuff takes time. Just do what you do and keep enjoying what you're doing, and that'll come through. And I think it's true for you too. You got a great voice.
Oh, thank you.
Radio too, and some of your stories, submit them to Scream. Some of your creepy stories, and see if she'll put them on. Tracy will put them on air. That would be
awesome.
When I started this, my first episode, that was a year ago, right? Mm-hmm. I just started tweeting it to everybody. I didn't know who anybody was, right? I was just clueless as far as this stuff went. And after my first episode, Dungeon Radio, which is now Scream Radio, picked me up. And they said, hey, but you got to get a professional mic. We'll send you one. And I'm like, yeah, sure you will.
Oh, wow.
And they sent me a pro microphone, like a studio microphone. And then Tracy bought Scream Radio. And for your fans, that's SCRMradio.com, Scream Radio. And she decided to keep me on. And I'm the only paranormal investigator kind of show on there. But since I'm not doing actual investigations on it, I'm just talking about historical events, paranormal events throughout history, it kind of falls in line with the whole horror lineup. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I got really lucky really early, and I'm not saying there's a buttload of cash in this stuff, because these are all internet radio, and you know, we just started Scream last July.
I love Scream, man. I love Scream Radio. They tagged me in a tweet today, and I was like, oh my God, Scream Radio! Ah! You know, I was trying to think of something really cool to say back, and I had said something like, thanks for making me scream, or something like that, and I was like, damn, that sounded sexual. Shit. I wasn't going to delete the tweet or anything, but I was trying to be, you know, I was trying to say something cool back, you know.
The crazy thing is that, like I said, Scream's only been around since July, but last month we had over 60,000 listeners. So it's really starting to grow really quickly. So I would encourage you, because you're obviously talented, you're comfortable talking on air, you know what I mean, to submit, if you got a creepypasta or if you got a horror story kind of thing. And I can't remember if you do that or not. I know you do the animation. Yeah,
I do creepypasta animations, but it's more comedy. You know what I'm saying? It's not like... It's got the horror characters, but the animation is funny. Yeah.
But you've listened to Scream, though. You know that we got everything from Mr. Creepypasta, that's huge on YouTube, to a guy named Manimal, who is so good and so creepy, and a great guy, too. His name is Randy. He's a really good guy. To people that do submit kind of goofy stories. you know?
Cool.
So you got, my whole thing is, what do you got to lose? Do you know what I mean? Send your stuff to everybody. And there's not, you know, there's Scream Radio. There's a lot of other horror radio stations out there that are starting to pop up.
I was wondering, because the Angry Toads is on there. And they do gaming videos, and I was like, is Scream Radio putting up videos? How are they doing that? You know, like,
and those guys are hilarious.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, you've got nothing to lose for trying. I submitted my stuff to, like, even the writers of Sons of Anarchy and the Vikings. I didn't care. It was like,
why not?
Just check it out. And when I did that, because I'm also an artist, I carve canes and that kind of thing.
Oh,
and I sent
awesome.
a couple of things. I sent a couple of my pictures of my pieces to, I don't know if you know, his name's Kim Coates. He was in Sons of Anarchy. He played, oh my God, it doesn't matter who he played, even though it's but he was one of the main characters. And I got a reply back, said, God, that's really good stuff. Keep it up. It was like, oh my God, I got a message back from Sons of Anarchy.
I would have done the same thing.
Right. I'm like, I turned into like a 7-year-old fangirl, like when the Beatles show up. But so if I got any advice at all, and believe me, I'm just a schmo. I have got like 260 or something like that subscribers right now, and I got really, really fortunate to go on Scream Radio. But I would encourage you just to literally. I'm sure people are tired of my tweets that I send them, because I don't care who it is. If you're involved in the horror of the paranormal field, you're going to get a blurb on my show just to get the word out. I mean, what the hell? Like,
That's awesome. That's so awesome of you. Yeah. I do the same thing. You know, I met a lot of good friends doing YouTube, other YouTubers, and I always try to give them the shout outs and some, you know, show them the love. Yeah. No,
absolutely. But I mean, I hate the term networking, but if you don't get your stuff, you never, like, I didn't know who D&G and Radio was when they contacted me, because I'd been sending it to so many people. I've got like a cut and paste thing that I do for a tweet about, if it's just about my radio show or my YouTube show, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the right, you know, hashtags and the right ads for whatever they're going for. But so it's a real quick thing. It's just a real quick cut and paste, and I send it off. And I try to do it an hour every day. And I know that sounds like self-promotion, but there's no other way people are going to hear about you other than word of mouth if you don't let them know, you know?
Oh, yeah. It's hard to advertise these days without, you know, spam. You don't want to spam nobody. It's kind of hard to get the word out a little bit. It's kind of...
No, totally. Well, yeah. And I'll make sure I give you a shout-out on my show, too, and just try to... because you've got a really good show going here, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is just boring the crap out of your fans.
I doubt it. No, my fan base is really cool. My fan base is, yeah.
Things have been, especially the last month or so, for whatever reason, things have been growing exponentially for the radio station and for me, doing different voices for other people that do creepypastas on Scream Radio and off of Scream Radio for YouTube, and that's just for me sending them stuff out, you know?
So cool. I feel good about this year, you know, and to be honest, I didn't, 2017 was hard on me, and I was kind of feeling down and, you know, kind of low, and like, but for some reason, I feel really good about this year. I do.
Yeah, the 2016 and 2017 for me, for some reason, the state of the world, everything was just kind of like, and my own personal life was like, God, man, can it get any worse? And you never want to say that to the universe, by the way, because then it just gets horrible.
Oh, yeah, the secret.
But it felt like that. How much crap can you possibly pile on? You know, this is ridiculous. And I suffer from depression at times, too. So
I do, too. Yep.
Yeah, so when I get low, I don't want to get out of bed. I'm like, no.
Yep, total shutdown. Yep.
Yeah. And right now, all I'm doing is my YouTube show and the Scream Radio show.
That's Scream Radio, SCRM Radio. That's Scream Radio. Yeah, for all your horror needs. I'm going to throw that Scream in there.
Well, what's so funny is it's just a little, I put that in the editing, right? And we did a live broadcast, and so a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Hagan, Rev, do the scream," and I'm like, I can't. It's a soundbite that I downloaded. I don't know. I wish I knew a bunch of talented people that could record something like that for me. I could have it on command, but
yeah, that's funny. Oh man, that's really funny. Oh my goodness. Well, Reverend, it's been great having you, but we're running over an hour here.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yes, it's been such a good conversation that we just kept talking.
It was my pleasure being on. Like I said, an honor to be asked to be on your podcast. I think you've got a great channel going here.
Oh, thank you so much for saying so. You got anything else you want to plug real quick? I don't know if we missed anything when my dog kind of went into Crazyville.
Just my channel. It's rev.hagan. I have Off the Beaten Path and Reverend Hagan's horrific cinematic dissection. And I want to give a plug to my son's YouTube page, Prepped Ghost. He's actually doing great. He's got 10,000 views and 170 something subscribers. If you could subscribe to his channel, it would mean so much to him. I can't even tell you.
Fantastic. And of course, I'll leave the links in the description for you guys. Go check them out. They're fantastic people. So until next time, see ya!
Bye, you guys. Have a great day and have a great 2018. Keep those heads up, my brothers and sisters.
Woo! Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We sure had a lot of fun making it. And do check out the Reverend's channel. He's such a nice guy. You guys should really go over there and check him out. If you would like to know more about me, there's links in the description below the video if you would like to click on that and check those out. And if you would like to subscribe to this channel, go ahead and smack me in the face right there. Thank you so much. Bye!